All right, so today is a fantastic day. I am honored and thrilled, and I mean that sincerely, all the cliches aside, to have Frank Cucco, the CEO and partner from, and you have to live under a rock not to know Impact Networking at this point. So welcome to the show, and Next Week's Life is thrilled to have you, Frank.
Hey, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
So we're going to have a little bit of fun here today. Obviously,
Okay.
we want to get to know a little bit more about Frank Cucco, but we want to hear the Impact Networking story and kind of mix things up a little bit. So some of the questions I know I've asked a couple of people in the industry, just, friends of yours, hey, I'm going to talk to Frank a little bit, give me some insight. So it's been a fun experience the last few weeks with you, just talking with people and seeing you at ECS. So, Frank, the first question that comes to mind, and this is really for me more than anybody else, but Impact Networking today is the most, arguably the premier transition company in our industry, going from what I would say is a classic copier dealership,
Right.
to a workplace services provider. So, at what point did you and your team make a decision to say, we're going right, we're gonna be doing these IT services thing, and obviously it's been hugely successful. So what drove you and your team to say, we're putting that stake in the ground?
To be honest, I think the idea, came from Rick Taylor and All Copy or All Covered. And I saw what they were doing, and Rick was talking about that at a lot of meetings, a lot of events I go to, and we had given it up really in 2009 and 10. We had a break-fix model up to that point, and then that recession hit, and it wasn't working anyway. We were losing money, and I said, okay, forget it. We'll circle back to it at some point. And then I just saw what Conoco was doing, and really, I thought that it was a brilliant idea, and I agreed with them that was the direction we had to go to be sustainable long term. So really, that's where the idea was seeded, was through Rick Taylor and Conoco.
So when you look, and that's great news. I'm sure Rick is going to be thrilled to hear that. He's influenced and inspired a lot of people along the way. But when I look at Impact, and all the things that you're doing, and it's incredible. You have your annual event, which I'd like to talk to you and with you a little bit more about that.
Okay.
When I look at, Impact itself, you have arguably, again, the most visible contemporary look and feel for a company all over social media. All of your marketing, all of everything that you're doing basically coincides with your penetration into this new market. So did all of that kind of happen at the same time? You changed your brand and everything?
No, I think it was an evolution, and as we, needed pieces and parts, we were able to add those. So I think it was just a long journey, and it really started about 7 years ago when, we hired Patrick Layton, who manages all of our IT. He's the VP of our IT. He's a partner now. And he investigated a lot of ways we could kick off a managed IT business. So for the first year, I just had him, investigating and researching and making sure we could do it and do it right. And then after that, then we kicked it off. And what was unique about it was, his talent and knowing the IT world, which we didn't really know, and our model of that MRR contracted reoccurring type revenue, which when, I presented that to him, hey, we're going to write 60-month contracts, he thought I was out of my mind. He's like, there's no way, they're not going to buy it, da-da-da. And I'm like, well, you just got to listen. This is how we sell everything. Let's try it. So his knowledge and our model of how we sell was a great marriage.
So interesting. I've met Patrick, and he's a brilliant guy, clearly. I saw the video that you shot when you announced his partnership.
Right.
And, a couple of things come to mind. Certainly the culture of Impact became very, very clear in that short clip when you announced Patrick's partnership.
Right.
So how did he get to be a partner over those 6 years?
Because the company's goal was to transition to a 50-50 split between hardware and managed services. And we got to that split. And his piece of that now is probably approximately $90 million of our business comes from Patrick's operations. So I thought it was well deserved. We couldn't have done it without Patrick and his team. So, and a lot of his team, I do one-on-ones with every employee in the company still. And when I was doing one-on-ones with his employees, a lot of them were on me saying, hey, when's Patrick going to be a partner? Look at what he's doing, So he had a lot of cheerleaders, and, he's not the kind of guy who made them come to me. They came to me because they love him and they thought he deserved it. And I agree with them. I agreed with them. And that's how he earned it. The combination of hitting the company's objectives and then really building an awesome culture with his own people. And he probably has 300 employees now. So, that's pretty impressive when you have that many people really cheering for you, because you know how it is. It's rare to have an entire organization that big really loving you.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because one of the things that moved me about that short clip was you in the way you presented that partnership opportunity for Patrick, and obviously his reaction was very genuine. Besides his talent, it clearly has a big heart. So what is the culture of Impact, and how do you continue to expand upon it and grow it when you get so big like you are?
Yeah, I think the culture of Impact has always been the one team model. So we're one team. Together we're better than we are separately. And I think people know that, we're one big puzzle and everybody plays their role. And if we're all playing our role, then we can be successful together. And if any piece is out of place, that affects the rest of us. And we're very in tune to that. We have responsibility for a lot of families and their kids and everything that goes along with it. And I think everybody buys in on that. And, really the in our DNA is to help each other. And that's been from the beginning until now. But it does get more difficult as you get more and more and more employees, because obviously you can't keep everyone happy. But the way I still do it is through those one-on-ones. I just finished 60 in the last 3 days with all our, once a year with the salespeople, the senior and associate, to find out, hey, what's your pain points? What can we be doing better? What don't you like about the company? And I always tell them, I don't want to hear anything good. I don't care about the good stuff. That's already handled. We're good. So that's just a waste of time. So let's talk about the issues and what we can really fix for you. And then it's my job to go and determine whether they're real problems and we need to execute on that or not.
So one of the biggest objectives or challenges, I think, as you pointed out, is finding really good people. And you seem to have a real talent. I know Frank DeGeorge, and obviously I'm aware of Patrick Layton and worked with him a little bit.
Right.
You have some stellar people. How does that happen? How are you that fortunate and talented to find those kinds of people?
I think it's a combination of a few things. One is we have a very solid recruiting team, of like 9 full-time employees. All they do is recruit, but that's only the initial step to get them in here. Then our facilities are all state-of-the-art. All of our technology is up to date, and they can come in and see the culture. And like you have seen online, they see a lot of the things we do, and they're driven here because they perceive that we have a good culture that they're going to fit in, that we're providing state-of-the-art technology, and that they're working in a good environment. And a lot of people come here even though they want that work-from-home model, but we don't do that. But they still want to come here. And then I've had many of them come to me after the fact and say, hey, I really enjoy being here every day. You were right.
So you're not. There's no hybrid model for you. Your program is everyone that needs to come to the office.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we're flexible, obviously. It's not like, oh, 8 to 5 and you have to be here and, any kind of, retribution or anything like that. But yeah, we generally, everyone comes to the office, but we're flexible. If they have stuff to do with their family, they're sick, whatever, that's all fine. But we work collaboratively. Most of Impact's deals have at least 5 or 6 people involved to close those deals down. So, I don't see how it works if you're sitting at home. And then I know you can do stuff through Teams and video, but it's not the same as being in front of somebody, in my opinion. So, yeah, we demand it. And, they're told up front, and even on our letters, acceptance letters, it says right on there. So there's no confusion.
So when you, which is excellent, frankly, that seems to be one of the biggest debates of the day, right?
Right.
How do you work that all out? But it sounds like you're doing well with it. One thing I did want to mention. So you approved the opportunity for myself and a couple of my veteran friends to speak with Cynthia. I believe she's responsible for your HR group.
She's responsible for our recruiting group.
For the recruiting group.
Right.
Frank, if you don't mind my saying, she's a terrifically talented lady, and we enjoyed the experience. And she made it very clear to us that you and Impact are committed to hiring veterans.
Oh, yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more about your thoughts about that? Obviously, I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, that's similar to how we, got into IT, your original question. I came to your ECS 2023, didn't know a lot about that, but we do have a solid recruiting team, and we're always looking for good people. And all the things the 2 vets you had there and yourself said made a lot of sense to me. So the first thing I did when I got back was grab Cynthia and say, hey, we need to add this person to our team. And she's in the process of developing that now. And then I also talked to a couple of vets we have here. And how you were saying, oh, it's a tight-knit group and they have a lot of organizations they're involved in. And I found that to be 100% true. So these 2 guys are really going to help us with that because they're still deeply involved in a lot of other vets. So everything that you suggested and told people to do to be a benefit to them, to being able to hire people, was spot on.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that. We've got a nice project in the works that we're working with, a variety of folks. And I mentioned to Cynthia that we're going to look forward to working more closely with her because she clearly took the ball and ran with it. And she's a very bright lady, and we're really grateful to you to let her do that with us.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, another thing is I think that veterans are fit into our model because they're really disciplined and they're operationally detailed. And that's really what we need. And it's a really good fit with the Impact model just because of their background.
Well, believe me, you've proven to be a champion, and we're grateful for it. As a veteran, speaking as a veteran, we're grateful for your help. These folks need help, so it's a mutually beneficial situation. So we thank you.
Correct.
So now you bring up something else, and I'm kind of curious. I was very pleasantly surprised that you had decided to join ECS 23. And so what brought you to that conclusion that you wanted to join? And can you share a few thoughts about, even today, a few weeks later, what you thought about it?
Yeah, sure. At first I was hesitant. I got a ton of stuff going on, this and that, and I don't want to go to another copier meeting. I don't care about copiers. It's a necessary thing we do, but it's not the long-term vision for Impact or the company, as you know. And yes, we're going to continue to do that and so on and so forth. But, I wanted to hear more sophisticated ideas from other companies that are more in the tech sector. And I saw your list of who's coming and what the thing was. And I'm like, I definitely want to go check this out. And I did, and I'm glad I went because I wasn't disappointed. I got a lot of great information over those few days, and it was well worth the time. And I even had dinner or had drinks with the lady from IBM. and she was outstanding, and she gave me some good ideas. And that book she gave, told us to go Clarity First, excellent. And it's right into how solutions and solving problems have to be done today. So I got a lot of good stuff out of it. I'm glad you kind of pivoted. I think Sharp was the only one who talked about, hardware, but the rest of it was all, about stuff that's important today, that's meaningful, and that people should take seriously. And that's the kind of meeting I want to go to because it's very valuable to me.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. Our logic was we wanted to try and bring a little bit of the old, some of the current, and then have, some of these other folks like Microsoft or Intel or whoever it might be, Joseph Brunsman on cyber insurance and things like that.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen him before too. He's great. But I thought it was great because it was, you had Tony and Mr. Reardon, that was the old, and, they still have the passion, which is awesome at their ages. And then you have the new, and then you had visionary stuff for the future. So it was a good mix of all of that.
Well, the thing I was happy to hear when Mike Lepper, I'm always worried when the younger folks, the younger leaders are put in front of a Mike Reardon or a Tony Pater, how do they process that?
Yeah.
So I was thrilled. I think Mike liked it, right?
Yeah, he loved it. And that's why I thought it'd be that's why I even did the video, because him and I were so excited when we were coming back home about different things. I'm like, we should really do a video and get your perspective as a very young executive, versus my perspective. And that's the whole reason we did the video. I think it's important that people understand that people like Mike, embrace this stuff. And he loved Tony and he loved Reardon. It's the same thing. I mean, people think a lot of things have changed. All the blocking and tackling is going to be here forever, in my opinion. Those things are never changing. They didn't change 20 years ago. They're not changing 20 years from now. You still have to pick up the phone. You still got to see people person to person. And you still got to be motivated every day, like Tony was talking about. And it's never changing.
Well, you sure emulate a lot of what Tony and Michael were talking about. And, one thing for the people who are listening, you've always been a really gracious host. Very, very, like you said, disciplined host when we had meetings out at Impact. But there were a few things that always jumped out at me about you personally, which is your genuine kindness, really, and respect for people that come through your facility. And you did one thing that was a not so gentle reminder for me about the importance of doing little things that mean a lot. And I remember we had a meeting at Impact, and you wrote a personal card, a personal thank you card. I mean, that little thing, it just grabbed me again and reminded me just how important those things are.
Yeah.
You still do those things today?
Yeah, I still do that. As a matter of fact, one of the senior people I was talking to said, hey, I hit my number for the quarter, the last year, and you didn't send me a note. So, people expect that and want to see that, and I think they're excited about it. But I still do it. Anyone who visits the office, any of my employees that do great stuff, personal note goes a long way. I mean, those things make a difference. And you talk about culture. That's the stuff that builds culture. Being fair with people builds culture, and you always try to do the right thing. And, every day you got to, do something good and be positive. And that's what I try to do, no matter what's going on. This is a tough business. It's tough to grow like we're growing. There's a lot of pressures, but you can't take that out on people. So, when I get here, I see it as I'm in a play. I'm on the stage, and I always have to be at my best and the most positive I could be, no matter what's happening here or outside of here. And I think a lot of people don't do that.
I think that's more than fair to say. Most people don't. And again, the gentle reminder, that little act of writing a personal card. I mean, I've been in this business a long time, and here I am getting all excited. And I literally showed our entire team, this is what success is. This little thank you note. Everything else we all have to do, but this is the difference. And I still have that card back there.
Yeah, there always has to be the differentiator for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Frank Cucco. So the one thing, couple of things I know about Frank Cucco, and I admit that I'm always finding you fascinating, want to know more. from a business perspective, Impact, again, arguably is the premier, I think, contemporary look and feel of where we want people to be. On a personal side, you also enjoy life. I mean, I see you going here and there in Italy, and we have some shared commonality. I think we're both Chicago kids, grew up in Chicago, Italian background. There's certain things that we do and don't do, handshakes and so on. Tell us a little bit about you. What drove you to doing what you're doing as Frank Cucco? What excites you today?
I mean, what excites me is just doing what we're doing. I get up every day. I'm still extremely excited to go into work and build something. It's all about building the company, trying to be different and creating something that somebody else hasn't or refuses or won't create. And that's what excites me. It's not about, the money or anything like that. It's never been. It's always been about the challenge and the goal. So, and that's why I tell my employees at our all company meetings, it's like, if you're not waking up every single day and excited, not every day, but most days, excited to come in, you're really in the wrong job. You have to find what you love, and you should do what you love, and then you'll be super good at it, and you'll be really productive. And some people take that the wrong way, and think, oh, Frank's being whatever, and other people take it to heart and know that I'm really giving them good advice from my own life. And at the companies I was at before Impact, 2 or 3 of them, when I was unhappy, that was the day I left. And I think it's really important to have yourself be happy before you can project that onto other people. And you got to live life. Work is great, and I love work, but I also like to go to Italy. I also like to travel. I also like to see new stuff. So I make sure I take the time and cut that out to do that. And I'm blessed because I have great partners that run this while I'm not here. And I'm also, 2 of my daughter and my son work for me here, and I'm able to travel with them. So those 2 things really make it all worth it.
Well, I have to tell you, I was very, very, very jealous and impressed. I think your daughter got married in Capri, right?
Right, yeah. She got married in Capri, and then she had the reception in Lagali, which is an island between Positano and Capri.
So of course I had to show my daughter, and you set the bar that,
too high.
But hey, congratulations on the wedding and
thank you.
And as you're looking forward for Impact, this has been obviously a very crazy few years, and looking in 23 and 24, 25, what are you seeing for yourself in Impact?
I mean, for Impact, really, over the pandemic, those 2 years, all those times were very difficult. But we concentrate on putting in a lot of new software. What I did was I called in people from other companies like Salesforce and those type of companies, and I just asked them, what are you doing? How do you do it? What technology are you using to canvas and all that stuff? And I got a pretty good idea of how those companies ran. Then I wanted to emulate it on a smaller scale. So we put in 10 different softwares during the pandemic, and that's complete. And now we're using that, cadencing, SalesLoft, all that stuff. So in the next 2 years, this is kind of our game plan. We are putting in a learning management system this year. We have one, but we're putting in the same one HP uses to continue to train our people because we have a training department. And that's going to happen this year. In next year, we have D365, the ERP, running Dot Security, our cybersecurity business. So we're running that for this year and getting good at it, making sure it's everything we want it to be. And 2 people are training this whole year to end up executing it and being able to put it into Impact Networking. So that'll be done at the end of 2024. And then 2025, we're really going to make a push towards that 500 million mark. That's our goal.
Wow. Excellent.
Yeah.
And are you going to continue to use the annual event that you have as a pile driver for you going forward?
Do you mean which event? Are you talking about go to Mexico when we take everyone to Mexico, or?
No, the one that you had in Chicago where you invite a lot of them.
Oh, Optimize.
Optimize. Yeah,
Optimize.
sorry.
Yeah, we're going to continue to do Optimize. I think it's a good show. People like it. We get a lot of people there, even if it's just for name recognition. We've never really been able to say, how much money does that bring us? But I think it just sets us up as a technology leader in Chicago when we're having an event like that, and 800, 900 companies come to it, and we get really good surveys back. So I assume we're doing the stuff they want to see.
Personally, I think your optimized program is just like unbelievably powerful. I mean, it's a lightning rod for the new business. So my hat's off to you and your team.
We did a different strategy. I mean, we used to do different shows where it was about selling, bringing people in and trying to get deals. And we changed the whole model with Optimize. It's like, let's just do education and have seminars and have them come to them, and then the sales will come. And now that you'll see Impact will have a new website in August. A lot of the stuff going forward, we're really going to be able to track and see what the ROI is on stuff like that. But in the past, it was a manual process, and it's difficult.
So we're winding down on time here, Frank. And as always, you're a real gentleman. But I have two, maybe three questions. But simple question: What was the music you and your daughter danced to for the daughter-father dance?
Oh, I don't even remember. I don't remember what it was. That's why she picks that. You know what I would pick, right? I'll give you one guess.
Sinatra.
Thank you.
All right. So the second question is, all right, what is your favorite Sinatra song, if you can pick one?
Oh, I like them all of them.
All right. So I'll go with you on that one.
You play them all the time. I listen to the ones you send out. They're great.
Well, you're paying attention, so that's good. I like
Yeah.
it. So I think, again, for the message, there's two things I would ask you to end with, and obviously my deep appreciation goes with it. But if you had advice for the industry, what is it? What does Frank Cucco say? Guys, you gotta be doing this.
I mean, this would be my advice that separates good from great, in my opinion. I think it's the ability to assess risk and then take the risk, and I think that really separates the really good company from a company that can really be great, because a lot of these companies, I think, are more lifestyle companies, and then you run it a certain way, and then there's companies where you're just really trying to, hit a home run. But my advice is, especially with the way the industry is changing and evolving, is you have to identify something and you have to take the risk and bring in good people. You don't have to be the smartest person. These people that work for me, way smarter than I can ever be, believe me. And, I give them the freedom to go and create something great. And it works. And I think a lot of people are afraid to bring in like a Patrick and just say, hey, here is a blank sheet. Go make Picasso out of this. And I think a lot of people, when you give them that challenge, rise to the occasion. And I can name a lot of examples around Impact where I use that exact strategy, and they've risen to the occasion. You mentioned some of them: Frank DeGeorge, Mike Lepper, Patrick Layton. They all were given the opportunity to succeed. I didn't get in their way unless, I really was not in line with what they were doing. And I think people do the right thing most of the time if you just give them the freedom to do it. But I think those are a few of the things. Get the right people, give them the freedom, and don't be afraid to take a risk, because you're going to have to take a risk because of the evolution of the industry.
Well, Frank, I think that's a great way to end it. I had another question, but I'll just save that for another time in another meeting. You have been nothing but a gentleman to me from day one I met you, and continue to be. Mike. And I mean that sincerely. I know you do. It's a real honor to know you and help you in any way that I can. I hope you find this podcast useful. And for the industry, I can tell you, I hope you listen to Frank's words very, very carefully, especially there at the end. And I happen to know Frank DeGeorge and some of those folks, and Frank Cucco is right. Get the best people you can, take a risk. So with that, we're going to say thank you again, Frank, and to Impact Networking for all your support, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate being on today. Bye.
My pleasure. Our pleasure.